dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know if it'll change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. Pac Div. You never know if you don't roll those dice.
Hello, Rob.
Hello, Matt. Hello, patrons.
Yes.
Welcome to another special, exclusive, bonus Patreon episode. Thanks for supporting the show. And
Patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None if you want to listen to the full episode. Yeah. Today we're talking about, well, I don't know. I've been thinking about this since we did our last Patreon episode, Rob.
That's right.
Since we talked about Baldur's Gate's game design. And I think most people's memorable moments from the game outside of weird tactical shenanigans are talking
your
with
first
your
experience
friends.
with barrelmancy is going to be at the top of the list, but everything else is less about the tactical combat and more about the
role playing, the conversation, the endless dialogue trees that you can have with the non-player characters in your camp, who are like also kind of player characters. And obviously this works so well because it's directed well and written well and voice acted well. But I was thinking back to like the things people like about role-playing games, and people like it. And I think GMs like ourselves like it when players have kind of scenes or story beats where they're just talking to each other. And we both know this just happens naturally, right? When you've got a good flow, when you've got a good players, when you've got interesting characters and an interesting premise. But I guess if we have any, like, we have a couple of mantras at DM of None, like obviously anyone can DM, all that kind of stuff. But I think one of the obscure ones that we've hit on a couple of times is that anything you see people doing could be done with the right set of rules is maybe the wrong words, but like guidelines.
Yeah.
Somewhere between support tools, rules, guidelines, something outside of the fiction that can help support you be better.
A framework, right? Something to put give it some shape. And you know, we're spending a relatively lot of time talking about Baldur's Gate 3, but I think that there's a good reason for that. One, it's fun and good and popular, but also because Larian decided to commit to 5th edition and D&D as like a mechanical and conceptual format, they really like elevated the form a lot, because the camp scene, right? Long rest is built into the 5e rule set. Like, it's something that will happen at every single table. It has to. But it doesn't necessarily, the way the rules are written, have to include any sort of like camp or downtime activities. But Larian decided to keep this mechanic and lean into it. And there are lots of CRPGs and there are lots of games that have camp scenes, and we'll talk about this is a trope, right? This is a long running and I increasingly think like a very good trope, but they really elevated it in Baldur's Gate 3 by making the camp scenes fun by themselves and not just sort of like an interlude between combats, and making them essential to the story itself and to the stories of your companions, who are, like Matt said, well written, well voice acted, well directed, which has a lot to do with this. But I think lots of things about it were great, and I'll talk about some moments that I love from Baldur's Gate 3, but the thing that I felt was most innovative was that these camp moments drove the action and story forward, and they were dynamic in a way. Your companions are always responding to something that happens during the adventuring day, which again requires a lot of extra acting and writing and direction, but that was so much cooler than even the good RPGs that I've played that have a lot of camp scenes and dialogue. But like the way that you would go back and then like sort of like reflect with your companions about like what had just happened, like how does this change our dynamic, how does this change my feelings about X, like this was really, really well done in Baldur's Gate 3, and it was inspiring. I think inspiring to both of us to think about how we do our own downtime scenes, because I do think this is a critical part of most RPGs, but especially anything that's like D&D related or like. If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None.